Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. Excuse me. Welcome back to Pick 10 80's 3. We're finally going to talk about the last time Scotty breathed. No, the last American Virgin. Can I just say, wow. So I had seen The Scene. If you know about this movie, you know The Scene. I had seen it on the internet, I did not know that that was the ending of the movie. I assumed it was somewhere in the middle, and then it would work out in the end, but that's not where this movie goes. No, this movie is actually a remake of an Israeli film by Golden Globus, who produced this. Yeah. Those guys who ruined Superman. So yeah. It stars Lawrence Monahan as Gary. And he has two friends named David and Rick. Rick is a dick. True to his name. But it's basically it's a proto-American Pie. These three guys are just trying to get laid. With it always coming up short for Gary. Although I guess at one point he does actually. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. It's implied that he does because something happens, but yeah. But there's a complication because a new girl named Karen, played by what's her name? What's her name? I know it. Kimberly. What's your name? Cheeky Poo? I don't know why I call her that. Diane Franklin. I think Kimberly was the other actress from Bill and Ted's name. Diane Franklin. You may know from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Or Amityville 2, The Possession. Yes. That one with the weird incest plotline. She's new to town and Gary right away instantly falls in love with her. That movie, for love at first sight thing that doesn't really actually happen. At least it's not actually love, it's a crush. But yeah, but it turns out that she actually wants to be with his best friend, and this movie got me in ways, especially the ending. I've been there. I'm not gonna put any names out there, but when I was in 6th grade, when you're in, at least on our system, you're in elementary school. There's different elementary schools around the town, the city. So when you go to you start 6th grade, junior high, middle school, whatever you want to call it. It's all the schools that were separate and now together under one roof. So you meet new kids, and there was a group of us. There was me, two other guys, her, and we were sort of in a little group of thing. We're kind of put together in special ed or whatever, and I really liked this girl. And of course, we were just learning about my autism, but I was not one to talk to girls. I was not that guy. I was fat, had glasses. Well, I was not fat. I was chubby. We'll call me chubby. At the time, a little pudgy. At the time, I wasn't like this, and I had hair. Would you believe it? Actually, I had hair. But yeah, we were in this little group, and I really liked her, and I was nervous to talk to her, and I took too long to try anything because the next thing I know, she's walking around with this other guy that was in our group, they're holding hands and walking around, and yeah. And I never got a chance to do anything because, well, she wasn't in our school the next year. In fact, I think all three of them kind of just disappeared, and I was in different classes in the 7th grade. So yeah, I did see her one more time on the 4th of July, but again, I was too. We sat next to each other, but I was too chicken shit to do anything. It's just my way. But yeah, so I know what it's like to have an unrequited feelings. We'll say feelings. It wasn't. It's not love. It's never love. You know. It's not all. I guess it's not. I could say it's not always love. It's a. It's a crush. Really, I don't think we would have lasted even if we did kick it off. But I don't know. But I know the feeling, so I feel for Gary here. It just. So yeah, I like the soundtrack. You got some Mario Speedwagon. You got some other songs. Take it up, take it up. Good soundtrack. It's a good soundtrack. It's 80's, good classic 80's soundtrack. It's just 82, and this had a pretty pumping soundtrack. Some good stuff. So yeah. Besides Lawrence Monason, who you may know from Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter, she says you're a dead fuck. A dead fuck? Yes, he was Teddy Bear in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. You have his best friend is played by Troy from the Goonies. You know, Andy, you Goonie. Yeah. Joe Rubo plays, I don't remember that actor's name. But Joe Rubo plays David, the fat guy of the group, so that would be me. Even though I sympathize with Gary, but yeah. And Diane Franklin, who's of course Karen. And Lucy from Twin Peaks as her best friend Rose. I never watched Twin Peaks, but I know people are going to get that reference and know which actress I'm talking about. Because you know her as Lucy from Twin Peaks. But me and millennials and those who watch Nickelodeon in the 2000s, which unfortunately we're going to have to address something else. But know her as the Walter's boss's wife on the Two Idiots and a Baby episode of Drake and Josh. Yes, and that leads me to the unfortunate casting choice. But I have to bring it up because if I don't, someone else will and ask me why I didn't. The character Victor in this movie is played by Brian Peck. You all know who he is, what he did. It's absolutely horrifying. It's bad. But he's in this movie, just like Return of the Living Dead. So it's another 80s film now to deal with. He's in this. I didn't recognize him because he's not fat like he was when I knew him as Pickle Boy, which, given what we know about him, that name is no longer fun. That's why I knew him as Pickle Boy from the new cast of All That, and for season 7, and he was gone, and I wonder why. You know why now. But yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. I was looking through the cast and I saw his name and I went, oh no, and I clicked it, and then I shouldn't have clicked it because then I saw his little fucking mug with a smile and no. But yeah, thankfully Victor is not that big of a part. He has like maybe 2 or 3 scenes. That's about it. So yeah. So like I said, it's a pseudo American Pie, really, because it's just these 3 guys who just want to get laid. That's what it is. They start by trying to hook up with these young ladies at the diner. This takes place in the 80s, but it has a real Grease 50s feel. And I think that is by design because the original film took place in the 50s, and they just transferred that. They made it in the 80s. But the fact that they keep going to a diner always makes you think of the 50s. Because I don't know how many people went to diners in the 80s, you know what I mean? It just feels like they kept that aspect of the diners, but just kind of pushed it into the 80s, but didn't try to change where they would go. It feels very 50s sort of situation. But yeah, I think that's where he sees her for the first time. You get music playing every time he sees her. And I can't fight this feeling anymore. That plays one time. But, yeah, so they want to hook up with these three young ladies. Their age range. One of them is a little bit big. And so they go back to Gary's house. And they're close to hooking up. Two of them are anyway. Before anything happened with Gary, his parents come home and it causes problems. And, yeah. One thing I don't get, I was confused. Because they all run out. They're like, oh, what happened to David? He's out on the balcony and somehow doesn't know that the parents have come home. And they do this awkward thing where he gets in bed with Gary's mom. And then automatically, like, Rick starts dating or trying to get with what's her name? Karen. But so Karen at this point is oblivious to the fact that Gary likes her. And you could say to an extent Rick is too, but he's talked about this girl ever since he first saw her. He obviously knows there's something there that he likes, but Rick doesn't care. He just wants to get laid, so he's trying to get with her. So Gary tries to hatch plans to make sure they don't get together, like... So, something I noticed immediately is that Rick is a dick. Because, like, he wants to get with Karen. But, like, the very next day after they go on a date and they're kissing on a dance floor or whatever. And I see this and I see Gary see this. I'm like, is this the scene? Is this the scene? Because he's not wearing the clothes I remember from the clip I saw. It must be later. Stop with that. The phlegm comes out, I gotta do that. So the next day they go to this Hispanic woman's house to hook up with her, and they're gonna take turns. Rick gets to go first, and I'm watching this and I'm going, there's something off about, because you don't really see it all. You see him flapping on top of her or whatever, and I'm just like, that looks very, like, her legs aren't spread open or anything. She's just laying there and he's on top. They're not really trying with this sex scene. And then it's even more so when David gets in there, the fat guy, and starts doing it. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. It looks even more so fake when he's in there. And it's Gary's turn. Then her sailor boyfriend shows up. And they try to get away. She's like, oh, these are the neighbor boys from downstairs. I was teaching them Spanish. And they're going to go now. Bye. And then David comes out in his underwear and is like, what does he say? What an info. And then hey, what you do to me? And he gets all angry and chases after them. Right? Yeah. Again, no, Gary unsuccessfully tries to... Because he does ask her out. She's like, no, I'm busy. I got plans. And it's to this party or whatever. And he goes to the party. This is before the hooker thing. Or whatever she was. And then that's when he sees that she's with Rick. Which neither of them tell him. They're just like, oh, no. So, yeah. So then, Gary's plan is to try to make sure that that Rick doesn't hook up with Karen. So he's like, hey, David and I, we're going to go hook up with this chick. You got to come with us. But I got to date with Karen. Oh, come on, man. Come on. And it's a prostitute. The redhead with the big boobs. it's a prostitute, and so they take their turn with her, and it's implied all three of them do it, even though we don't see all three of them. Because I think Gary gets sick, but it's implied that he does do something because the next day they're getting very itchy down there, and they're like, I think we have lice, and so they think they can drown them in pool water, so they're in the pool, and then Karen and her friend Rose. There's a double date at some point during this too, where Rick's just making out with Karen in front of him, and he's forced to make out with Rose because, you know, like they think it's cured, but then all of a sudden they was like, oh, it didn't drown him. And I'm like, why would it drown him? So then you have the awkward scene where they go to the pharmacist, the pharmacy. The pharmacist, they're like, we got a problem. What problem? Itch. You itch? Yeah, like kind of like lice. Oh, lice! Oh yeah, you get a free comb. It's not exactly lice. What? Let me see. Look at this hair. There ain't nothing here. No, it's not there. It's down there. And the guy goes, your balls itch? You got crabs. Yeah, so he gives him the medicine for that, which I guess clears up really quick because I don't know if it's the next scene or the one after that. Rick is now hooking up with Karen. And we get the boob shot from Diane Franklin. It is her because unless they gave her prosthetic boobs, because you see the shirt come off and it's full. It's not cut to a close-up shot. It's full wide shot. So they're hers. And they're nice. They're nice. She's old enough to be my mother, but it's nice. Not here. She's in her 20s here, I'm guessing. But, yeah, and they hook up. And what is it with teenagers in the 80s hooking up outside? And I guess they say it's on like a football field or whatever. And I'm like, this just reminds me of Fast Times at Ridgemont High with a different song. And I'm just like, what is it with them hooking up out and outside? You're going to get stuff in your butt crack or whatever. But they're like a bench or something. Yeah. And then that's when they come back to the diner. Because it's the 80s. And Gary's like, hey, what happened? He's like, oh, I hooked up with Karen. He's like, what? You fucked Karen? Shh, keep it down. She'll hear you. And that's when things get, they kind of get into it. I'm sorry. Either Rick is very ignorant and stupid, or he's just doing this on purpose. And throughout the film, you see he just doesn't care about anything but getting laid, and it gets worse. Because it's the next day or a couple of days later that Gary finds Karen crying. And Rick broke up with her because she's pregnant. What an asshole! We gotta have that clip. You gotta have that clip of Adam Sandler's "What an asshole!" That one. Or the Martin McFly one. He's an asshole! That one. Yeah. So, Gary confronts him. And I guess Gary wasn't in this class. He confronts him in the middle of the classroom. And they go at it. She's like, hey, you get out of here right now. So, Gary, he puts together all his savings to get her something that would be controversial nowadays, an abortion. I am pro-abortion, by the way. And before you start ranting and raving and preaching at me about how, oh, you're killing them babies, you're killing... Okay. Before you get into that, it's growing inside you, yes. But I do not believe you have human rights until you are born out of there. And even then, you're a child that has no control, but there are no human rights for you unless you're actually born to be a human being. If you're a fetus, especially if you're just like a little bit. I can see if it's a long term along the way, she's like 6 months pregnant. Okay, I can see that. But if it's like a little embryo that hasn't grown yet, I don't see the harm in doing it. And to defend this, what about victims of sexual assault? All right? Victims of sexual assault who are sexually assaulted. I don't know where I was going with that. Because of these stupid laws that they're trying to pass, they are now going to be forced to have these children. And every time I look at these children, they're going to have to remember the horrible, horrible thing that happened to them. And before you point out, they can put them up for adoption. Oh, yeah, that's much better. Put the kid up for adoption, let them live in an orphanage. Where they don't know their real parents. Punish the kid. Right? And before you say, well, then they're just not going to be alive. But if they get an abortion, then the kid will never have to deal with that. And I know that's not ideal. I'm just saying. It's a little bit dark, and I'm sorry. I apologize for that. But I'm just saying. Abortion is necessary for certain things. Sexual assault or something like that. What if there's an accident? What if kids are not ready? So there's adoption. You put up for adoption. Maybe they'll find a family. You don't know. I don't know. But I'm just saying. If kids are to be born, then they deserve to be with their parents. And if the parents aren't ready, or if the parents went through something horrible, that's not fair for either. Anyway, back to the goddamn movie. So he puts his entire savings into getting her an abortion, and he takes care of her for a few days. He makes her food, all this stuff. And then that morning, he confesses his love to her, and they kiss, and she invites him to her 18th birthday party. And it's all downhill from here. Yeah. I'm going through this, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, this movie's taking a while to get to that scene. Because I assumed it was in the middle of the movie. So I take my little remote, and I go display to see how far we are. And we have less than 10 minutes left of this movie. And I went, what? Wait. That's not how it ends, is it? Because I assumed, well, we'll get there. He goes to this pawn shop or whatever, this antique shop, and he gets this locket for $80, or $50, and has it engraved, to Karen with love. And he shows up at her birthday party. He walks in, he looks at David, he says, hey, have you seen Karen? Oh yeah, I think she's in the kitchen. And so he goes in, it might have been David, it might have been fucking Victor. He goes in and she's making out with Rick. And the sad song starts playing. And she notices him. And then Rick turns around and notices him. And he stands there. And I see the shot. And I went, no, this is it. This is the... When he walks in, you see the shot of his face. And because he's like... And I'm like, oh, this is it. But this is the end of the movie. This doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't. And I'll explain why. Being a remake or not, whatever. But I'll continue. He sees this. He sees them making out. He walks off. Gets in his car and he drives away crying. Credits roll. And I went, what? That's not how you ended a movie. What? And let me tell you why this does not make any sense. This feels like they wanted to subvert, 80's. This is 1982. So they even got those kind of romantic comedy endings where something happens and then they end up together. They wanted to subvert that, right? Because throughout the movie, this guy's trying to get laid, and one time he does, he gets the crabs. If he even got laid, he might have just got it from the bed. You can get that. But just it doesn't make sense from her point of view. She has been with Rick throughout the film. They have sex. She gets pregnant. He dumps her ass. And then this other guy comes along, swoops in, pays for your abortion, takes care of you, gives you food, professes his fucking love for you. And you run back to the fucking guy who left you pregnant and alone? No. This feels like a downer ending just to have a downer ending. Is what it feels like. I appreciate they're trying to subvert the typical romantic comedy kind of thing. But it doesn't work for me. It doesn't. It just doesn't. Because it just doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to make sense with my head. And I'm trying to think of what kind of person Karen is. But even for what we know about her, this doesn't make any sense. This guy knocked her up, left her alone, broke her heart. And then he finds out she's not pregnant anymore and comes running back. I slap his ass in the face and walk off. Right? And I'm sorry. But if we're going to go for this kind of ending, we need an ending. Fuck this whole thing with him walking off and crying in his goddamn car. Fuck this. Fuck that. He needs to kick that guy's ass in the goddamn kitchen in front of her. He needs to do it. I'm sorry. I don't want to promote violence, but he deserves it. Right? And then he needs to give her a stern talking to, a yelling at. Or maybe just anything but running off and crying. Because I get it, it's a downer ending. But if we're going to have an ending where it's kind of a downer thing, have him give them the riot act. Have him give them the riot act. Have him yell at her, "You stupid bitch. He left you pregnant and alone. I paid for your abortion. I took care of you. I nursed you back to health. And what do I get? You come running back to him as soon as he finds out you're not pregnant anymore. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. I do all this for you, and what do I get in return? And you, some best friend you are, you knew I had feelings for, but you don't care. You only think with that and not this. I'm done with the both of you. Storm out. Then get in the car. Maybe cry, maybe just, I don't know. We need more vindication for him. Don't have him drive off like a little pussy. Come on. Too much ranting. But I will say, other than that bullshit ending, sometimes I say endings for movies, I will give it a very low pretty good, because I enjoyed this movie. The soundtrack, the acting was good. Very 80s. I liked it. The ending is bullshit, though. I will point that out. So, next, I gotta keep remembering to do this. So, the hell. Alright. Where is the dice? Where 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 the dice? It's over here. Alright, roll the dice. There's no 6, there's only 4. See? 2. Okay. That doesn't matter what it is, because I already got. Show me boobs! No. 3 amigos. The 3 amigos. Which is a PG film. I think I've seen bits and parts of it. I don't think I've seen all the way through. So. Up there, amigos. So, there you go. So, what are your thoughts on The Last American Virgin? Let me know in the comments below. Go back down. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Sky, and I'll see you in the next one.